The Electoral Commission of South Africa is receiving today in Pretoria the final ward boundaries for the 2026 local government elections from the Municipal Demarcation Board. This handover confirms that all municipalities now have updated, are compliant and ready to use ward boundaries for the next electoral cycle. SABC News anchor Liezle Wilson is in Pretoria and joins us live this hour. So Liezle, quite an important one. Take us through the latest conversations from there.
Liezle, good morning to you and our viewers. Absolutely. It's a pivotal milestone for the democratic calendar in South Africa as election preparedness gets underway. Perhaps the next phase of that election preparedness gets underway. I mean, officially today, the Municipal Demarcation Board is going to hand over the electoral boundary ward list. And this is really the foundational work that has been put in place by them. That democratic relay is set to be handed over to the IEC, where the work and the clock begins to tick. The green light is given as we edge closer to local government elections for 2026. Let me bring in the chairperson of the IEC, Mosotho Moepya, perhaps to tell us a little bit more about the significance of this and really where to from here in terms of the work that needs to be done. A very good morning to you and thank you for your time at this hour.
Good morning and good morning to your viewers.
Mosotho, I'm reminded of our last chat at national and provincial government elections, and you said, and I will quote, the work must be done well, and the work must be done well with all of us in mind. Thank you for that pivotal reminder. So if we're looking at the next phase of elections preparedness and what this is going to signify just after 10 o'clock today, tell us from your vantage point.
There are many important things concerning what will be taking place today. You will recall that we hold elections regularly every 5 years for local government and every 5 years for national and provincial, for the National Assembly and provincial legislatures. The work concerning elections for local government envisages that settlement patterns must be confirmed every 5 years so that the Electoral Commission's voting districts will align with the wards that the Municipal Demarcation Board would have redetermined. This is the importance of the work that we're going to do. Whereas we have wards today, those wards may have changed in some respects because of the human settlement patterns that have changed since the last elections took place. And so the Municipal Demarcation Board has a mandate in the law to redetermine those ward boundaries. Once it has done so, it is required by law to present the redetermined ward boundaries to the Electoral Commission. And for the Electoral Commission then to realign its voting districts with those municipal wards. This is fundamental because in local government elections, voters vote where they reside. They cannot vote outside of those areas. And they vote for representatives in the area where they reside. For example, we will have a ward councillor. A ward councillor would be for that specific geographic area where the voter resides. And so this is very, very fundamental for us to ensure that citizens are aware of what has happened since they were last registered in that ward. Maybe it has changed, maybe it has remained the same, and this is work that we would need to do. Two things that come out of this. One, we immediately will be realigning our voting districts to the ward boundaries that the MDB has done. And where we find that voters who are registered already have been affected by these changes, we will have to inform them and re-register them in their correct wards. This is the work that lies ahead for us.
It's extensive, and obviously there's a lot of challenges that come with that, but to your point as well, the importance of voter education and getting that voter registration process underway is really what the work is going to look like for you. When is this going to be rolled out then practically for you from an IEC's perspective?
We have essentially begun with preparing for it. We are in the process, as you are aware, employing people that will be doing this work in anticipation, of course, of this happening. We will begin as early as in the new year, but we will be informing citizens about the changes that impact on them. Okay. And then we will be in those homesteads and places where voters have been affected to inform them. If we find them at home, we will then re-register them. But we will also take out communication campaigns. We will do education campaigns almost immediately to ensure that no one is left behind.
Okay. So we're safeguarding our democratic institutions and ensuring that there's that trust factor, especially in institutions where we see what trends have emerged the world over. The challenges that would also come perhaps over the years, whether it's disputes, whether it's disgruntlements. I'm saying this because there's the politics of what's happening in wards, especially with those demarcation areas and community interests as well. But we obviously have to look at the law and how that is aligned. But also the issue of tribalism, ineffective service delivery issues that might border on, the work that the demarcation is meant to do. How do you mitigate against that? What tools were employed as well alongside the MDB?
Very important. This is the kind of work that, in my humble view, involves the whole of society. It is not just for those who are leading, whether they be traditional leaders, whether they be ward councillors, whether they be provincial leaders or national leaders. It requires all of us. It requires every citizen to be aware and create an environment within which an election can be held. It requires that citizens be registered appropriately and be informed about the effect of the changes that have taken place. But to the extent that citizens may be aggrieved by the work of demarcation that has happened, the Municipal Demarcation Board, I believe, has afforded them the opportunities to raise those issues. Where there are still residual issues that they need to have resolved, I think it is important that they remain engaged. Where there are court cases that have been filed in that regard, I think we must help the courts to determine those disputes as soon as possible, expeditiously, and help the courts to come to outcomes that will help all of us resolve those disputes. It is important to hold local government in an environment that is already settled, and this is what we plead for.
Yeah, especially with the new dynamics that unfolded, given what the voters had said or not said, whether they showed up or not. But on the issue of what's unfolded, I wonder if we could look at best practices and perhaps also benchmark it against the previous cycle. I mean, this is every 5 years, as you mentioned. So there must be some reforms that one could perhaps advocate to ensure there's a smoother delivery process. Is the time frame enough as well? How do you compare the two, the previous and this one?
It's a very difficult one, and let me give you an example. Settlement patterns in our country never stop. We are always people on the move, and if you start it early, you're going to miss the settlement patterns that happen later. If you finish it late, you will have everybody included, but you leave very little time to prepare. So it's a balancing act, actually. We are, as we are right now, almost on the late side. It's very late in the day. But even so, we still have people that are saying, I need this done, I need that done. And unfortunately, there must come a time when we say this is now the cutoff time and we move on. I want to call for all of our people, for our nation, to support us, to help us to finalize this in the best way we can.
Any particular ward or area that needs special focus and communication at this point, or should we wait till that 10 o'clock hour?
We wait until the 10 o'clock hour, but not only then, we will constantly and increasingly communicate to the extent that as we look at how things have changed in each ward, and communicate. We will keep this nation informed about where there are challenges and what we believe needs to be done with those challenges. But we will certainly be looking to many of you to help us.
Okay. Well, the stage is set. The clock is ticking. Just after 9 o'clock, we're going to obviously be hearing about that handover there from the MDB into the hands of the IEC for the preparation, the next phase of the electoral preparation set for the local government elections. We had chairperson of the IEC, Mosotho Moepya, just joining us there, reminding us that the work really has been done, but it needs to be done well. It needs to be done well with all of us in mind, perhaps to quote him there.